This is the National Aerospace Science Agency, an agency with the goal of developing Kerbal technology for the purpose of exploring space, develop and test new technologies for better and safer air travel, and finally to train and launch the first Kerbal to low Kerbin orbit and return them safely to Earth. Before the agency existed, a brilliant scientist working for our predecessor nation, the National Aeronautics Research Agency, published a book entitled The Possibility of Artificial Satellites in This Century. This book inspired the nation, and a space task force within NARA was put together to discuss the possibility of accomplishing such a thing. The task force surmised that if a well-funded and serious effort were put into the development of rocket technology, Kerbals could put not only an artificial satellite into low Kerbin orbit, but a crewed capsule into low Kerbin orbit. The publishing of this discovery prompted NARA to be renamed NASA, and the developmental work to be put into place that led to our first low-orbiting artificial satellite. The first program funded by the newly formed NASA was known as LARR, the Low Atmosphere Research Rocket. It was a single solid rocket motor, not too different from a child's toy or a firework, though much larger. On board, and for the first time on a rocket, a computer, guidance control system, as well as atmospheric temperature experiment, more commonly known as a thermometer. This rocket would test the capabilities of our launch equipment, flight test of automatic launch programs, and gather low atmospheric data. It was the most advanced rocket of its time, but it was quickly outpaced by the rockets it opened the door for. LAR-1, the first full test of the system, proved that the program could launch a rocket from the Kennedy Space Center on the Floridan coast. The rocket barely made it past 10 kilometers, although it did survive the flight, but it was only the beginning of the LARR program. LAR-2 flew the first test of the brand new atmospheric barometric pressure experiment, or a pressure sensor. It crashed and was destroyed, but was still able to transmit its valuable data.
We're off the pad, and the vehicle has cleared the flagpole. Getting good data back, transmitting data back.
LAR-3 was a repeat of LAR-2, but this time it flew at the Woomerang launch facility in Ostrusa. It was destroyed on impact, but gathered valuable data on our capability of launching from alternative launch sites.
Vehicle has cleared the towers. All systems go, beginning launch sequence.
LAR-4 was the most recent LAR flight. It had upgraded avionics along with guidance fins and a parachute. It flew a test of the mysterious fluids dynamics experiment, more commonly called Mystery Goo, at the Kennedy Space Center.
Parachute is deployed, and parachute is fully opened. Alright, good job team. Recovery teams are moving to the site.
The next program that was developed as a result of the early developments of LARR was the HARR, or the High Altitude Research Rocket. Its initial development used a two-stage system that would carry all the same experiments as the LARR up into the high atmosphere, and even onto suborbital spaceflight. Eventually, as the payloads got heavier, a variant was developed with two additional side-mounted boosters. HAR-1 would fly shortly after LAR-3, and was used as a testbed for multi-stage rocket capabilities, as well as the use of the launch program, which used multiple programs at once, all of which were provided by Bo Drixon on the Kerbal Space Program forum. It accidentally flew a suborbital flight, but was unable to transmit all of its data from space as it ran out of electrical power.
The flagpole. Alright, data is coming in. And 3. Engine cutoff. We have ignition of the second stage. Vehicle is underway. The vehicle has performed increasingly better than expected. It is reported that the vehicle is in suborbital flight. This is the first vehicle to reach space. Good job, team. R2 vehicle is within safe parameters.
R2 flew a similar flight as HAR-1, this time flying into space on purpose and transmitting the remaining data that was not received on HAR-1.
Launch sequence now. Okay, beginning launch sequence 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Ignition. Liftoff commenced. We have liftoff. Beginning ascent program. Vehicle has performed nominally up until this point. Engine cutoff. And we have an apoapsis of 72,000 meters, around 72 kilometers. Once again, good job, team, on a successful flight.
R3 flew a test flight of a pair of recovery parachutes to recover high-altitude atmospheric data and purposefully recover our first rocket.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Countdown complete. Ignition. We have liftoff, and we have cleared the flagpole. Vehicle is underway. Ascent program active. We're getting good data here. And coming up on engine burnout, and that's it. Engine's out. Our altitude is 34. Our apoapsis altitude is 34,000 feet. Parachutes are deployed and fully deployed. Recovery crew is on the way.
HAR-4 flew a test flight of the radially mounted solid rocket boosters and would help push the vehicle into suborbital space and once again recover that data using the two radially mounted parachutes.
We've activated the ascent program. We're getting good data from it. And booster engine cut off in just a few seconds. Engine cut off. stage separation and second stage ignition. We have good ignition on that. Second stage cutoff in a few seconds. Second stage cutoff. Staging. Engine ignition is reported good. We are still go. Final engine cutoff in a few seconds. And we have cutoff. Vehicle's apoapsis is 167 kilometers. It is re-entering now and beginning recovery systems. We have reports of a shooting star above the recovery zone. It is not known if the vehicle has survived yet. Recovery crews are reporting the sight of 2 parachutes deployed. 2 half-deployed parachutes, and we have full deploy. We're receiving reports that the parachutes did fully deploy. This mission is a success. R5 launch vehicle is preparing for liftoff now, entering launch program.
R5 flew shortly after LAR-4 and utilized the latest in avionics and guidance systems to fly the MFDE, or Mystery Goo, into the upper atmosphere.
Launch program initiated. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Booster ignition is confirmed. Vehicle is off the pad and has cleared the flagpole. I repeat, the vehicle has cleared the flagpole. Ascent program initiated. We have second stage cutoff in a few seconds. Second stage cutoff and staging. Final stage ignition is confirmed. The MFDE has deployed and is gathering scientific data now. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5.
HAR-6 flew a similar flight to HAR-5, although with a change in the flight profile so that way the rocket would fly suborbital with the MFDE to test the experiment in the vacuum space.
Flagpole, ascent program enabled. We have engine cut off in a few seconds at this first stage. Engine cutoff, staging, final stage ignition confirmed. Vehicle is on its way. Good data. The vehicle getting very close to the suborbital flight. Cut off. Parachute is armed, and the MFDE is gathering spaceflight data. 4.
The Low Orbit Kerbin Satellite, or LOKI, was a simple first satellite program developed by the agency. The satellite itself carried no scientific payloads, simply a radio transmitter along with its flight and guidance computer. The launch vehicle went through many iterations before the agency was able to finally successfully launch a LOKI satellite into orbit.
2, 1, ignition, liftoff. Vehicle has cleared the flagpole. We are in an ascent program. Final stage, burning to burnout. It does not appear that we will be able to achieve orbit today. Still too low and not enough fuel. 3, 2, 1, we have ignition, early ignition. and we have cleared the tower. Vehicle is underway. Reports are still showing that the vehicle is not going to be able to reach even suborbital flights. Once again, another failure for the Loki program. Range safety officer will destroy the vehicle upon full burnout.
Loki 4 used newly designed liquid fuel core with 4 radial solid boosters. It was the closest to getting into orbit, but the upper stage was too underpowered and failed to push itself high or fast enough to achieve orbit.
Vehicle underway, all systems still looking go. Reports of low thrust to weight ratio and low altitude show that the vehicle will not achieve orbit today. This is the fourth failure of the Loki program. Range safety officer has been told to terminate the flight. Four, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. Loki 5 is off the pad. Slight oscillation, and the vehicle is drifting away from the flight path. And we have range safety officer has attempted to destroy the vehicle, but the vehicle does not appear to be responding at this moment. It looks as though the vehicle will crash just off of the runway here. Loki 6 is showing all systems go, fuel fully loaded. Beginning launch sequence 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. All the big solid rockets is firing up. We have cleared the tower. Flagpole. All systems are go. Ascent program enabled. We'll begin a pitch over maneuver now. All systems still go. From the vehicle at this time, we are at an altitude of 4,004 kilometers up. The vehicle is still at 300 meters a second at its velocity. And engine cutoff. Reporting good staging on all 6 solid rocket motors. Ignition of the liquid fuel core is reporting good data, good thrust on all 5 engines. Good. 10 kilometers up. 300 meters a second. Still reporting good data from the vehicle. All systems are still go at this time. It does appear that downrange gauges does seem to indicate that the vehicle will have engine cutoff in upper atmosphere, and at the second stage should have enough to put the vehicle into a low orbit of turbine. The vehicle is now greater than 1,000 meters per second at an altitude of 35 kilometers. Engine cutoff. staging, and the second stage booster has ignited. We are reporting good data on the second stage booster. Our altitude is 40 kilometers, and we are traveling just over 2 kilometers per second. And we have reported engine cutoff as the apoapsis has reached 75 kilometers above the surface. We do expect that will go down as we coast through the atmosphere, but it will not go down enough to affect the ability of the vehicle to get into orbit. We are reporting RCS is firing to keep the vehicle on station and in position for the orbital insertion. And we are beginning our final countdown to orbital insertion. Our vehicle is at 73
Loki 6 was the first successful launch of a satellite into low Kerbin orbit. In honor of the sacrifices of 2 recently deceased astronauts, the satellite was renamed into the Valentina and Jebediah Kerman Memorial Satellite.
7, 6, 5, 4. We have ignition, orbital insertion, and we have reported engine cutoff with nothing. We are in orbit. Loki 6 has successfully reached low Kerbin orbit. Congratulations, team, on a successful mission. Thank you very much. The satellite is now being renamed Valentina and Jebediah Kerman, and the brigade that arrived flying test aircraft.